What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of the Kind of Funny Screencast. We have to save Tiny Chef. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside co-creator of Tiny Chef, Rachel Larson. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm excellent. I got about 1 billion questions for you, but I'm good. How are you, more importantly? How are you?
I think I'm good. I'm a little discombobulated, but
yeah?
I'm good.
Just a few things going on in your life. A few people begging for your attention, I'm sure. And then he's the voice of the chef himself. It's Matt Hutchinson. Hello, Matt.
Hello, everybody.
It's never gets old. It's such a great voice, Matt.
Never gets old. It's amazing.
Let me stop both of you, Rachel and Matt, right away and talk to the Kind of Funny audience. You might be saying, wow, we don't get that many screencasts all the time. And, you know, we do our best around here to give you the content as you need it. But you might also be saying, I don't know what Tiny Chef is. But I beg to differ. I bet you do know what Tiny Chef is, all because of this video.
Yes, but I know Tiny Chef here. Hey, Black of Wodan, Black of Ewan. Ready to cook up some more episodes? Black of a brilliant blanket. Canceled? Bloody me canceled. But listen, but we had training, but you behave on set, I promise. But I have black ears that will blow your minds. I've been... But we put out a baby. But about Wob. Bread and jam. Cake. Patty. Brown cake. Where? But all my friends. But I understand. I love you too. Bye.
Rachel and Matt, I want you to know, you know what, I should start with this is always about me. Let me tell you about Greg Miller and Tiny Chef, all right? I got a 3.5-year-old at home named Ben. He's adorable, and I love him. Every day we start getting some breakfast, seeing a cartoon, watching something on TV. So you can imagine my surprise when one day, Kids Netflix was like, what about Tiny Chef? And I was like, you know how kids programming is. Maybe it's going to be the best thing ever. Maybe it's going to be garbage. I turn on Tiny Chef, and it is the best thing ever. And it was one of those where we just marathon through these episodes, so in love with the chef, his message, the guest stars, Kristen Bell popping up, RuPaul's doing the announcing, this amazing performance, the amazing quality of the writing, the sets, the characters, the animation, just blown away by what Tiny Chef is. And I was like, wow, I found something new to love. I would say, within 2 months, I wake up blurry-eyed and I'm brushing my teeth and I open TikTok and I get a TikTok that goes, man, this is the saddest way to cancel the show. And I saw the chef pop up and I was like, oh, I didn't know Chef had a show before this that got canceled. But no, it turned out it was breaking news and this was just happening and my world began to crumble. I reached out to Matt on DM on Instagram. We got this all together, but I've done something very important, which is done little to no research. Because I want to stay with, I think what a lot of my audience is of, maybe they knew of Tiny Chef from Netflix or Nickelodeon, where it actually has run for 3 seasons, it turns out. Maybe they knew about the chef and the internet beforehand. Maybe they just saw this video and now they're learning about it. But I didn't want to go in knowing everything. I wanted to stop there. And so where I start is this video. And Rachel, I turn to you and say, what is the timeline? Because for me, again, the animation of Tiny Chef is so outstanding and incredible. To see the announcement of the cancellation via an animated Tiny, did you work on that for weeks, days, months? How did that work from your side?
So we got like Chef, we got a call that said, you know, Nickelodeon wasn't going to continue with the show or Tiny Chef, and we kind of said, okay, well, now we need to give Chef this news. Like, you know, that's what we do on social media. We follow his day-to-day life. We follow like what he's doing. You know, when he got the show, we followed that journey of him getting the show. And so we knew like, okay, this is news we have to give to Chef and we have to let folks know, you know, like his future is going to change. And so just sort of like logistically, you know, like the team got together, we thought through like the script and like how he was going to receive the news. We wrote the script pretty quickly, got Matt on for a report like within 2 days.
Dang.
And we just said like, we got to get on this now. And we animated it. It took 7 days to animate.
Wow.
And then quickly got it into post-production. I mean, we were on it, like when needed, we work really fast for stop motion, like really
And
fast.
it was needed. It was needed this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we knew this was the change in his life, because it wasn't ours too. It really once the show got canceled, it was like, okay, how do we fund this? How do we keep going? What's next steps? And, we've had so much fan support and love, and we just said, let's try crowdfunding. People love Chef. We get DMs all the time that, he changes their life, and people love him. And we just thought, instead of just shutting this down, let's open this up and see, if the fans can really come out and support Chef and us so we can keep doing this. And it worked, I think it gave Chef so much love and support, and when your show gets canceled or you get fired, you just feel awful and you feel like you've done something wrong or you weren't good enough. And, having all this fan support come out and people say how much they love Chef and the show and him, it boosted him and it boosted us, and we needed it. And we just knew it needed to be a quick turnaround. And because I think that's what the social media does well. We can really tap into immediate moments
For
as
sure.
quickly as we can. And there's no approval process. There's no anything other than the team saying this is good. Matt gave an incredible performance, and then
Thank you.
we wanted to match that, and it was quick turnaround.
Matt, what's that roller coaster been like for you? I think you are Chef, you are that voice, you obviously fill that role, but I feel like that was the same thing we all felt but we won an Emmy. Why is this going away? What was it like to get the call, to then have this call to action, to then now be on this whirlwind of positivity coming your way?
It's just as you said, it's been a crazy roller coaster. I mean, to get that call and, and find out that the thing that you've worked on for, however many years is now done and not wanted anymore by the network is devastating, because you put so much into it. And so to get that, it wasn't that tough to do that voiceover for that video, because I was really feeling all those feelings. So what you're seeing on camera was really how I was feeling about the whole thing. And we kind of all were,
Sure.
It's the rug just gets taken out from under you, and you think, now what, so to show that side of it, which doesn't really get seen all that much, I think was really cool. And it gave a ton of people some insight into just, how that stuff works. If only just a little, tiny piece of it. And so then to see it trending on Twitter and, all the hashtags and, how much love we got from just the entire internet has just been incredible. It's been really cool to see.
I want to talk about where we're at. I want to talk about how we got here. But of course, this entire episode is about saving Tiny Chef. So before I even go to our own housekeeping rigmarole, remember, of course, you can go to kindafunny.com/tinychef right now. Join the Tiny Chef fan club is what you're calling it, right? Where you can donate once, you can donate as a reoccurring amount to keep Chef going, keep the social media here, keep more shows coming, which I want to know all about that. But first, I'll remind you all, of course, this is the Kinda Funny Screencast. Whenever we need to, we get together to talk about the coolest things in movies, TV, and more. Of course, you maybe know us from In Review, our incredibly popular series where we are just wrapping up Superman in review, getting ready for more MCU in review, and oh so much more. If you love talking about movies, TV, etc., of course, follow us at youtube.com/kindafunnygames, twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, podcast services around the globe. Thank you, of course, to all the people who make this happen for us. You can pick up a Kinda Funny membership over on patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, Apple and Spotify to get all of our shows ad-free, and of course, get your daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a series I call Greg Way, where I have talked about Tiny Chef many a time. Of course, thank you to our Patreon producers, James Hastings, Carl Jacobs, and Omega Buster. Today, we're brought to you by Shady Rays, but we'll talk about that later. For now, back to saving the chef. Okay, so talk to me about where we are at right now then in the timeline, because there was confusion, I know, at some point where the initial video went up, join the fan club, there's all these different monetary dollar amounts to put in, but it's not like how we do Patreon where there was perks, but then it was like you said, we saved the chef, but then we hadn't saved the chef, we got the social. Where are we right now, Rachel, in saving Tiny Chef?
Look, it didn't go perfectly. We
It never
tried.
does.
I mean, we got everything kind of up and running in like a week, like and minimal staff to pull it off. But it's a confusing setup, I think, first of all, to explain to people, because Chef has a show on Nickelodeon, but the social media is like a separate entity. So
Sure.
it wasn't umbrellaed under the same thing. So the show got canceled, and the crowdfunding is to save Chef on socials, to save our ability to keep producing content with Chef, on socials. And
To pop in right here,
effective-
I would assume, I think most people probably know this, but the way I've always understood it is animation is expensive. And again, the quality of Chef and what you're getting out of that show, I imagine, isn't cheap, right? So that's what we're talking about in terms of investing.
It's very expensive. It's especially stop motion, because if you think about it, we do everything physically. So we have to have a warehouse space. We have to have sets. Every location you see Chef in has been custom built, and it's, it has to be animation friendly. Sometimes there's multiples of a set, there's lots of tiny chefs because they break, like there's a lot that goes into it. And I think, we've worked really hard to not have people think about that. Really, like, you just watch Chef and enjoy it and make it feel effortless and make him feel real. That is like all of our effort goes into that, and not really anything behind the scenes. I don't want people thinking about sets. I want people thinking that Chef is in a tree stump home, and we put a lot of effort into, in some ways, making all of us disappear and just having Chef be at the forefront. And I think with that, though, people don't understand like how much work goes into making those things happen and how much money goes into making that happen. So this was sort of a moment we knew, like, look, if we're going to ask people for money, we have to kind of pull back the curtain and, really show like there's a huge team of people behind what you're seeing, and it's just expensive. And, ultimately we just want to keep doing what we love. We all love it, and I think that's why a lot of the content people respond well to, because like we love it so much. So I think that's why it's effective. And so, yeah, it's just very expensive. But to sort of answer your question, the fundraising was just step one. Like, can we just save our ability to show Chef on socials, which is a smaller overhead than the Tiny Chef show, which is an even bigger overhead. And that's like sort of step two. Like, we'd love to save Chef's show, of course. We'd love that to continue. A lot of work went into it. Chef loves it. That's, of course, we'd love to save the cooking show. But step one was just like, can you guys help us just keep going on socials? And the fundraising is absolutely helping that happen. And it's hard to just be like, it's saved, the loop is closed.
Well, then, because then you worry about
like,
people withdrawing subscriptions, right? And not being, not thinking that it's done and we're all set.
Right. And I get it. Like people want quick, easy, like a happy ending. So do I, and I think it is a happy ending though, in that it's working, like we are able to keep going but we have to figure out how to make this last long term. Like the funding has gotten us about 4 months of production,
Okay,
like leeway, right? And that's
Sure.
like amazing. But more than the money, I think honestly this whole thing has just shined a light on Chef and like really brought new fans in and really kind of brought a light to the show, you know, and gave the show marketing
Yeah.
that it probably could have used before, you know, but
Yeah.
so that's like that's a huge perk. So we're kind of looking at all of it as positive and, you know, just really overwhelmed and happy and just trying to figure out next steps, honestly, and really figure out how to keep this going long term. And this was sort of step one. We just knew we needed to get this up and running and get something in the door, and it's working. It's just not the cleanest. Like, it's saved. We're good.
Yeah. Life rarely works that way, right? I think that's the most important part. Yeah, and I think, again, it's interesting to see Chef have this breakout moment this way because, again, it's something that is transcended where you consume him, right? You talk about like, you know, kind of funny, which I know you don't know well, but like we're this media podcast, YouTube empire on all these different places, but so many people don't know our faces because they only listen on Apple or they, you know, people only do this over on Twitch Live, so they don't even know about X, Y, and Z. And so I feel it's so cool to see this moment where even me ignorantly only knew Chef through Netflix, right? And I was like, oh, I hope they make more seasons, not knowing there was 2, not knowing they were on Nick. And now to see that break out, and then me not even know that Chef existed on YouTube and social media and all these places before this, right? Like that's the thing is, Rachel, when did Tiny Chef actually begin and how?
So we started about 7 years ago. It's to cliff note it, you know, I was sculpting tiny food on Instagram. I was just like having a blast sculpting tiny food. And I had this green puppet that I sculpted like 15 years ago now. Met a friend on I Love Dogs, Ozzy, who we both worked in stop motion. And then about 2 years later, like we talked about doing our own project, you know, like we're like, we should do our own thing. And then 2 years later, she's working on doing like a live action cooking show. And she saw the food I was sculpting. She knew about the green puppet and she put the pieces together and she was like, we should do a tiny cooking show with your puppet. Like, he should be the chef. Let's do this. And it just sounded like a good idea because I didn't quite know what to do with the green puppet. And it just sort of gave him a story. It gave him an occupation. It gave him life, really. And so she flew out to New Zealand where I was working on a different project. We were, you know, what was great about Instagram is you can do stills, and we would take Chef out in the world, take pictures of him and give him a caption, like the story, like he went to the farmer's market and people were loving it. It was sort of like this, everyone was sort of already starting to play along. And Matt, you know, he's hilarious and he's always done voices and like the kind of voices that are funny and not like annoying, like
my voice. Yes.
There was one voice he did that was always made me laugh, and I was like, okay, Chef needs a voice. But I knew this was a moment you're either going to make or break the character. Like a bad voice can just kill it, you know. And so we were playing around and with this one voice Matt did. Maybe Matt, you can take it from here, like how.
Well, even before then, Matt, I need to know how you enter the picture. Like, how do you know Rachel? How are you even doing voices? Are you some man on the street that yells at her?
I mean, no. So I met Rachel when I started dating her sister, and then her sister and I got married. And
thank God it worked out. Okay.
Yeah. So Rachel is my sister-in-law. And yeah, just like Rachel said, like I could always get her to laugh doing these, you know, dumb voices that I'd just been doing forever just to make my friends laugh. And, you know, she had come back from New Zealand and was, you know, I've got this thing that I want to start.
Still in New Zealand. We were still in New Zealand. Because remember, we were
right.
like,
that's right.
we were like trying to find it. And then
yes, sorry.
Sent I
don't even
another
remember.
One bites. It's so long ago. But Matt sent a voice note of him singing Another One Bites the Dust in this voice because we were trying to like make it like it's its own voice, like it's not like English. Like Chef has his own language, and he sent this voice note of him just singing Another One Bites the Dust. And Ozzy and I were like rolling on the ground laughing. It was so funny. And so we were like, we have to animate to this. It was just so funny. And we like the next day we set up the camera, set up Chef, and animated to it. And that video, as soon as Chef had a voice, it like our views and engagement just like totally spiked. Like it was just like, oh, this missing piece of this character like came together in this song. Like it just like worked. And I think the whole project kind of was like that. It was just these like organic next steps that just sort of worked. And like anything that we like and we love tends to just work, you know. And the voice was the same thing. It was so organic. And Matt just sent us like all these clips of him singing different like popular songs, and they were so funny. And it was like we found the voice, I think, through song. And then we kind of like we just worked together to like find the talking voice. And you know, it's
So Matt,
yes,
when I look at Rachel's IMDb, I see Tiny Chef, I see Tumbleleaf, I see Paranorman, I see Coraline, a lot going on. When I look at yours, I just see Tiny Chef. And then you being Tiny Chef on Face's Music Party. What the hell were you doing before you sang yourself into this job?
I had a corporate job.
Oh, boo.
This is my first foray into anything, to do with acting, voice work, Hollywood of any type. And this was my introduction. So it's been a whirlwind, to say the least. I've got things checked off on a bucket list I didn't even know I had on the bucket list. I mean, it's just been incredible, to win awards for just, speaking gibberish to people and, people clapping and going, amazing. Oh, amazing. It's very surreal, just a dream come true. And I can't imagine going back to a corporate job after doing this.
I was going to say, so is Tiny Chef the full-time gig?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yep.
No looking back on that one. Yeah, for sure.
No way.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then, Rachel, pivoting back to you in the creation of this show, right? So it's the tiny cooking stuff on social. You're doing that idea. When and how, I guess, do you elevate that to kids programming? I don't even know if I'm defining it correctly, if that's how you describe it. I mean, animation work on this level, and again, the narrative and story and lessons that are being taught, right? Like what I love about the show, the full blown show that I've watched on Netflix, right, is that idea that every episode something goes wrong and Chef has to deal with that. And of course he deals with that by talking to his friends and figuring out what to do. And then they go and they solve the problem together, kind of thing. And it sounds simple, but the way it's done in the show is so organic and is so real in the way, like, this didn't work, hands up, or I'm going to cry or whatever. And Chef walks off set. And of course they try to talk him down and they can't do it. And then somebody has to call him. Like, where does that start going from you're just sculpting little food and doing little funny things at the farmer's market to like, all right, you know what? We should be teaching life lessons. We should be really tackling early development kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the journey was kind of long, so we first got a book deal. So once we got the book deal, we were able to build Chef's Tree Stump home with that money. Like we sort of just slowly built his world, his home. And then we got Imagine Entertainment, saw what we're doing. They were like, oh, this is awesome. And, became a partner in the business. And then they really connected us with Nickelodeon, who also saw what we were doing and, loved it and just thought it could be a kid's show. And to be honest, I never had a big desire to do a kid's show. The whole team just really loved doing what we were doing on Instagram and happy there. And it was sort of like, well, let's just do it. Let's see, if we can make a cool kids cooking show. And the, Chef's plant-based. I just love kind of like the effect you can have on kids. Like a good show can really, I just remember like Mr. Rogers. I just remember these shows as a kid that had such a positive effect on me and became sort of your other parents, and just just this warm place. And I was like, well, it'd be great if Chef could be that for kids too, and so we just started development around 2020 and really needed to add characters so you could have a story and just, you know, try to add them organically and whatever sort of felt right and was funny and made us laugh. And the development process was long and hard, and you know that was it. We did it during the pandemic in Manchester. It was rainy. We were grumpy, but you know, I think everyone cared about it. Like genuinely, everyone that worked on it cared about it and wanted to do right by Chef, and you know, wanted to make a good show. And I think we got there in the end. You know, I think we wanted there to be an authenticity to the show, an authenticity to the humor, and the stories to be simple enough that it wasn't super complex, and it felt genuine and funny. And I think especially in season 2, we really kind of found the rhythm with the writers, and it was just it was like going to school for writing and figuring out story and figuring out how to extend a 1-minute clip into an 11-minute story. Like we were all kind of new to it, but we, you know, we had people on the team, you know, we had writers, like it was a big, huge group effort, you know, and I think, I wouldn't trade it for anything. We really learned a lot, and it wasn't necessarily the show we were like wanting to make, but I think there was enough pushback and the right kind of pushback to make a show that worked for kids. Like I think in the end we got to like this really lovely medium space where I think Nickelodeon brought a lot of knowledge about kids, and we brought a lot of pushback of like, no, this needs to be right. And you know, so it kind of found this lovely like middle space, I think.
Well, I think that's, you know, it works obviously. And again, I'm talking about it on the Screencast and talking to our audience because the show is, and obviously the property and Tiny Chef himself, right, is so much more than a kid's show. I think that's why it stands out and why I would, you know, immediately be in Matt's DMs about it to a stranger, is the idea that like Jen and I love this show. You know, this for me falls into that rare air category of like Bluey, where it's like, usually Ben sits down and he wants to watch the Hot Wheels Monster Truck show or this, that, the other, and whatever he's in the mood for you. But there's those days where like, but Bud, what if you watch Blue? What if we watch Tiny Shit? You know what I mean? Like we're trying to sell him on a show because we like it so much, and that's what I think's so cool about The Chef. Both the show, obviously, that still exists, 3 seasons you can find on Nickelodeon, find on Netflix, yada yada yada. But also then finding him on social media, and I think that's what's been eye-opening for me. Again, the show I'm watching, and I know, oh, this appeals to me as just a viewer of anything, that I can enjoy the show. But the breakup video and then the videos you have continued to post of basically Tiny Chef being depressed, being in bed, eating pizzas, playing his sad song on the banjo. When I told my wife about it, I'm like, they just put up a new video. It's just him playing a song being sad. This isn't good. And even, you know, today's video as we're recording this is anxiety, right? And it's him cleaning up, and you see him, you know, weeks later, right? Yeah, he's pulling himself together and getting, and I'm like, like the comments that it's been fun to be there since the initial one went up and everybody's freaking out. But then the comments now that are new Tiny Chef fans because of finding through social media the breakup video, and now they're here and like, yeah, Chef, go get it, blah blah blah. Like you have adults that are there not thinking of it as kids programming at all, but cheering them on, and like that's what makes The Chef so special, and why obviously I want to do everything I can to save The Chef with you.
Love it.
Yeah, thanks. And I think, you know, for me it's always about like, look, if we're in the room and we're thinking of ideas and we're laughing or it feels real, like go with it. Like just go with it. Same with the show. Like if you're not laughing in the edit room on the animatic, like we got to rethink it. And I think before you think about kids, you got to think about yourself. Like, is this funny? Is this real? Is this boring? Is this too much? Like I just like, I trust my instincts. I trust my team's instincts. And I think, and Matt's instincts, like half of the stuff we record with Matt, it's Matt ad-libbing, and it's like, don't worry about the script. The script is a starting point. Matt is going to make this thing, like, and he does. And so I think it's just leaving yourself open to those magical little moments where other people add this thing that's like, oh, that's it, you know? And I think leaving room for that. The team that works on this is super talented and everyone adds magic to it. And I think it's leaving space for that. That's really important. And I think the best of the show is leaving space for those magical moments or those ideas that someone has and we're all laughing or like, put it in, that's funny. Or an animator thinks of an idea that is so funny and the way Chef moves and, that I think stop motion kind of lends itself to that process of love. Like people love it, people who work on it love what they're doing. So you want to leave room for them to make decisions for themselves that like they feel, and make sure it's right. But like, I think that's part of why the show's good because people love what they're doing. They want to add magic to it. And you end up seeing it on the screen,
Yeah. Matt, I want to talk about how you went from some corporate schlub to being the chef and continuing on all this stuff. But before then, I'll remind everybody we're doing this to save Tiny Chef. You can go to kindafunny.com/tinychef right now to get dropped onto the support page. It can be a one-time donation. It can be a many-time donation over the months. It can be merch. It can be a bunch of different ways to help the chef out, which we all need to do because he's too fantastic. But I'll also remind you while you're on that internet, why not go to patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, Apple or Spotify, where you can pick up the Kinda Funny membership, or if you're new around here, you could just subscribe and listen to all of our content free. Of course, it would get you, if you subscribed, all of the ad-free content and, of course, your daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a 15 to 20-minute podcast series we call Gregway. But right now, you're not using your benefits, so here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode's brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or simply return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team are always there to have your back with personal and fast support. Y'all know I've been outside a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's such a great experience wearing Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. Exclusively for you, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. Head to shadyrays.com and use code FUNNY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, go to shadyrays.com, use code FUNNY to get 35% off polarized sunglasses.
Okay, Matt. So,
Yes.
I don't know if you know, I've voice acted once or twice, all right? I've been in the Lego video games. I've been in the thing. I'm terrible at it, but I keep occasionally getting things, and I do my best, but I never feel like I'm doing well. Did you ever, was there ever a moment where you're like, I shouldn't be doing this? Or were you classically trained in acting before you went to the corporate world and then came back? Like, what is it like for you to go from sending funny voice memos to your sister-in-law to winning Emmys?
It's been wild. Absolutely not classically trained. No singing background, nothing. It really is just, I was always the guy at parties that could make people laugh by doing dumb impressions. Like that was really just my shtick. And I just have parlayed that into this amazing thing that is now my life. And it's just been amazing.
Was it also brick by brick, small step by small step that you never really had that chance of like, imposter syndrome or being nervous in the booth? You just go in there like, I'm going to throw myself at it and see what happens? Because she's talking about you improvising and doing all this, awesome stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Chef is so much a part of me that I feel kind of an obligation to be, to think about how Chef would do things before anything else. And that's kind of how we approached the kids show, because we had this amazing audience on all of our socials. We could go and say, okay, Nickelodeon knows the kids piece of this, but we know Chef, and we know that, sometimes he doesn't, toe the line when it comes to kids programming, and he throws tantrums, and he cries, and he gets mad, and he does all these sorts of things, and I felt like we were true to that, and in doing so, kids saw that, and they can spot fakes so easily that to have that big following, it was really special. We knew we had something really cool. when we had that kids audience on top of, all of the socials as well. So, but to answer your question, I mean, I literally, I was doing voice acting at night for Rachel while I was doing my corporate gig. And I just, happened to get downsized, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to take the jump. Here I go. And that was like 2018.
Wow.
And I've been doing this ever since.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you have ambitions beyond just being chef? Like, do you want to do other stuff, or is it you want to stick? You're happy being chef, and that's what you do.
I am so happy being chef, but I would love doing anything else. I mean, I get so obsessed with voice work and acting in general, just because I got a little taste of it, and now it's all I want to do. So if projects come my way, I'm absolutely all over that kind of stuff. It's just I haven't landed anything besides chef yet.
Well, I mean, when you're knocking out of the park, you don't need to worry about it.
Well, yeah.
Again, doubling back to what has happened already here, Rachel. Talk to me about then social media rolling. We're doing books. Nickelodeon comes a calling. This happened. Where does all this celebrity crossover start coming? Because again, the first time I turned it on, and I'm like, wait, is that RuPaul? And it's like, and it's RuPaul. I'm RuPaul. I'm like, okay, RuPaul's part of the show. And then Kristen Bell pops up, and then Alan Cumming late. I'm like, what is this? Is that all Nickelodeon? Are those already fans? Are those people you knew from obviously working in the industry?
So Kristen Bell came on like early onto the project. So she's like a producing partner. So she's found us like very early on and was like, I love this. How can I help?
Gotcha.
And so she was a big, I think she got RuPaul to do it. And, I think it was a mix. Like, I think we have a lot of celebrity fans naturally on Instagram. I think she pulled people in, some of her friends, and I think Nickelodeon had contact. So I think it was sort of all of it,
Across the board,
yeah. But yeah, we would hear they would get a celebrity and they were fans. So it was kind of good thing. It's always best when it's a fan, because like then they're super excited to do it and they love chef. So yeah, that we were pretty lucky. But RuPaul was a huge get. That was like, because chef, we planted that seed really early on in the Instagram, like, because we love RuPaul. So like a lot of chef stuff we love too. So we he was a fan early on. I think it was literally one of his first videos. He was watching RuPaul's Drag Race in New Zealand, like one of the first videos. So we that was like a big ask, like if he could host a show, and somehow I think Kristen pulled strings and got him to do it. And it like, that was like so cool. There's just been some very cool moments for this whole project. And that one was very peak. Like, it was just like, you gotta be kidding me. He's gonna be the announcer. And he read Chef's book, the audiobook. Like that was still, that will go down as one of the best catches and cool moments for us.
Yeah.
Matt, well, tell me about your other cool moments like that. Again, you're at the Emmys, you're bumming around, you're chef. Like, how many times? What are the moments that when I ask you about that, your Mount Rushmore of like, this is what I'm doing, this is my life?
When we were announced that we had won, and then I had taped previously an acceptance speech, and once that started playing, and I could see everyone in the audience just cracking up. And there were celebrities in the audience, and they were all kind of pointing and, oh yeah, I know that guy. And that was just such an amazing moment. Like, oh, people really do know and are huge fans of this thing that we're doing. And I pinch myself all the time. I get to meet, the voice actors, the heavy hitters, and all the Warner Brothers guys and the Disney guys, and all of these legends of voiceover, and then I get to see bona fide celebrities who don't just that you could walk down the street and recognize him instead of a voiceover actor, which, that's kind of nice in and of itself. But but to see, people like, Jack Black and, those guys they're all doing the same kind of thing you are. And you I have to pinch myself over and over and say, this is what I'm doing with my life now. This is incredible.
Awesome. I love that so much for you. So then, Rachel, we're out on our own now. I'm sure there's a sense of excitement, independence, Chef's back 100%. You can do whatever you want. What do you want to do with Tiny Chef from here?
A great question, Greg.
Thank you. That's why they pay me the big bucks on Patreon.
We're figuring that out. I think what I can say is like the ability to move forward with Chef on social media and independently is just like very appealing. Mainly because this is what we love to do. This is like not having too many voices in the room or approval process. Like that was rough. And I understand why that has to happen, but our ability to sort of make content that we love and that feels right and that we can pivot quickly, that's like our sweet spot. We love it. But ambitiously, we want to make a Tiny Chef movie. We would love to get Chef's show back. We have more ideas. I think just really being able to do what we love, and I know it's such a bad answer in a way.
No, it's a great answer.
I think just coming off of like, the Nickelodeon show was like amazing to do and work on, but you can see you're at the mercy of this big company and what they decide and what they want to do and how much they're going to market you and how much seasons they're going to give you and how much gap is it. Like that was making us crazy. Like that part of it kind of puts you in a position where it's very hard to move forward because are they going to do another season? Are they not? Like that part was very difficult. I don't want to be in that position ever again. I want to create and I want to do what I love to do. And, I think we have so many ideas with Chef. We have so many things we want to do with him. I want to do it all. I just want to do it in a way that we have a little more control over our future and his future.
For sure.
So yeah, we want to do a lot, but I think have just more freedom and control would be great.
For sure. Yes, that's always helpful. The best way to help them do more, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, of course, is go to kindoffunny.com/tinychef. That's where you can subscribe. Of course, that drops you onto thetinychefshow.com, where you can follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. It's all there for you. Of course, you go to your favorite platform, The Tiny Chef Show, and find the chef there to keep on following. As we wind down and wrap up, I want to ask the big, broad questions that make you think. So I guess, really, Matt, who is Tiny Chef? I think there's so many people who have heard us talk about it and the importance and the quality and that. And I'm going to ask you this too, Rachel, so start thinking. But for you, when you think about this little green guy and what he's doing out there, who is Tiny Chef?
He is, he's kind of an embodiment of the best of all of us. He's just got that do no harm mantra and to treat everyone with, dignity and respect. And, it's just kind of the ideal being that you would just always want to be friends with. And he's sassy when you don't expect him to be. And he acts like your little old grandma when you don't expect him to be. So he's constantly throwing you curveballs, and he's endlessly entertaining. And I couldn't think of a cooler character to be a part of than this little guy.
Well said. Rachel?
Well, thank you.
Matt pretty much covered it, but I think I like what he said. Like, I think he's the best of your grandma. He's the best of your kid. He's the best of your best friend. He's the best of yourself. Like I think when he sort of organically came out, I think There's pieces of my grandma in him. There's pieces
yeah.
of Matt in him. There's pieces of, you know, people I remember from preschool that I just had this. I remember this one girl in our kindergarten class would go down the hallways belting tunes, just like not caring, and it was so heartwarming. Everyone loved her because she just, you know, belted tunes down the hallway, and it just with abandon, like, you know. And I think there's part of her and Chef, you know, I think he's just, yeah, he's the best of us, and I know personally I want him to exist, and I want him to be my friend.
Hell yeah.
Totally.
100%. That's a perfect way to put it. Rachel and Matt, first off, thank you for being here today. Of course, thank you for making Tiny Chef. But more importantly, thank you for fighting for Tiny Chef. Again, he means so much to me as, you know, he means so much to me as my little guy and to my little guy that I'm happy that so many people have rallied around this. And you should too, everybody. Kindafunny.com/TinyChef to get up there. Support them as they figure out what comes next for Tiny Chef. This is usually where I'd say, Rachel and Matt, where's the best place to keep up? But I assume it's Tiny Chef everywhere. The Tiny Chef everywhere. The Tiny Chef show everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, Tiny Chef show. I would say follow him on YouTube. You know, that's somewhere we want to build up.
Yeah.
If there's a future show, that's probably going to land there. You know, so I would say follow us on YouTube, Tiny Chef Show, and TikTok, Instagram, kind of everywhere. But yeah, YouTube, I think, could be a new home. So
Yeah, it looks like it's been doing pretty well. I remember it didn't say 357,000 subs when I went there the first time. So you're doing pretty good.
Wow, it didn't. That's awesome.
Glowing.
Well, congratulations to you. I'm glad that you're, you know, making lemonade out of lemons here, and I think this is going to be great for the chef. So thank you so much for making the time today. And of course, you, ladies, gentlemen, and bees, thank you for watching this episode of the Screencast. Remember, we come to you to talk about movies and TV all the time, whether it be a screencast or whether it be our award-nominated show, Kind of Funny in Review, where we review your favorite movie series, sometimes television, but we kind of got away from that. So it's really just movies now. We just wrapped up Superman. Of course, MCU is going with Fantastic Four. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but I digress. If you really like what you saw from us today, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, all that jazz, and maybe consider going to patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, or Apple or Spotify to pick up the Kinda Funny membership to get all of our shows. That's more than 80 episodes a month, ad-free, and of course, get your daily dose of me, which adds up to 4 hours of exclusive podcasts. I digress. We're not promoting me. We're promoting Tiny Chef. Kindafunny.com/TinyChef. Save this guy. And until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.